Hi everybody. This is a quick video to walk you through some of the expectations for your descriptive analysis project, which, as you know, counts 10% of your grade in the course, so you want to do well on. Before I talk about the project itself, I wanted to just review a couple of things quickly that I think will help you as you approach the project. So the first thing is levels of measurement of variables. So we're gonna split up the four categories into only two for purposes of this project. So variables that are nominal level or ordinal level, if you remember what those are categorical data or qualitative data, also called. Some examples: anything that's got a Likert scale. If you remember, one of those that's somewhat that's like strongly disagree, neither, something along those lines. Those are all Likert scale variables. Income is categorical if it's categorized. So sometimes the income will be broken down into, 0 to 19,999, 20,000 to 30,999, and etc. So income, if it's categorized, will be categorical. The country where someone was born is categorical. If it's not categorical, it's numeric or quantitative, like quantities. And it doesn't matter whether they're interval or ratio, it's all quantitative. Income is a numeric variable if it's not categorized. So if they just ask people their income and let them give the number, that's going to be numeric. Number of times somebody has moved in their life, that's a number, 1, 2, 3, 4. And somebody's height would be numeric. Now, how can you tell based on looking at variables in SPSS? Well, what you have to do is, we're looking here at variable view. So let's pick a variable, like, I'm going to pick one I don't think you would probably pick. How often the respondent contacts their most contacted parent. So you're going to think about that and say, well, if that's in number of times per month, that's going to be numeric. If it's coded as, categorically, then it's going to be categorical. So the way we can tell is if you look under values and click here, and this is the 3 dots over here, you see that this is coded as several times a week, once a week, etc. So this is going to be categorical. Okay? If you've got something like, and you're not going to pick age, so I'm just going to use age. If you click in there, it says, DK means don't know, and A means no answer. So those are essentially just missing values. They do have a value here for 89 or older. What that means is that somebody's age, as long as it's up to 89, is coded numerically. If they happen to be 89 or older, they just call them 89. So something like this you could treat as numeric. All right. And if you have any questions about that, I'm happy to help. So this is important to be able to tell what's categorical and what's numeric, because that's going to determine which graph you use or table and which numerical summary measures you look at. So you're going to do a univariate analysis on each of the variables you choose. A univariate analysis looks at the distribution of a variable, meaning what are the possible values and how often do they occur. So if you have a categorical variable, you're going to do a frequency table and bar chart. So for the first one we looked at over here, how often does respondent call their most frequently contacted parent? That's under frequencies. So analyze descriptive statistics frequencies. And then we just pick that variable, move it over, and then under charts, we click bar charts. All right. Now, if you've got a numeric variable, then you're going to use the explore function, and that's going to give you the mean, median, range, standard deviation. Those are your numeric summary measures. And you're also going to look at a histogram and a box plot. And if you're doing that, you know how to do explore by now. To see the histogram, remember you got to click on plots and turn the histogram on. Okay, I always turn the stem and leaf off, and that'll give you your what you need here for your numeric variable. Okay, and in terms of what you see here, there's not a whole lot you can say about the frequency table and bar chart. You can look at those and say, this category is the most common, followed by this one, followed by this one. And that's about all you can say about that. For the numeric variable, you should state the mean, median, range, and standard deviation. You should use the units of the variable. So if it's in years, use years. If it's in dollars, use that. For the histogram, you can state the shape, whether it's approximately mound shape, whether it's skewed to the right, skewed to the left, bimodal. For the box plot, you can talk about especially the outliers. All right, so that's the univariate analysis. For the bivariate analysis, that looks at the relationship between two variables. So you're going to look at, if you're looking at the relationship between two variables that are both categorical, you're going to run a cross tabulation, and you're going to use either row or column percentages. And the way I want you to do that, well, I'll come back to that in just a minute. So either row or column percentages, and that is going to be under Analyze Descriptive Statistics, crosstabs. If both variables are numeric, you're going to do a scatter plot. And just to remind you, that is under Graphs, Legacy Dialogues, Scatter Dot. And then pick Simple Scatter. And then if you've got one of each, one variable that's numeric and the other one that's categorical, you're going to do the grouped descriptive statistics and your grouped box plot. So that is back under the explore function, and you're going to put your numeric variable in the dependent list and your categorical variable in the factor list. Okay, and then under plots, we don't need the stem and leaf or the histogram. I'm just interested in the grouped box plot from that, and then what the mean, median, modes are, or not modes, but just mean and median, range, standard deviation for each group. And then, for each one of these, what can you say about it? So for the cross tabulation, you can say of the people in this row, this percent said this percent said this, this percent said this. Of the people in this row, this is what the breakdown was. For the scatter plot, you can talk about, does it look like there's a relationship between the two variables? If so, what is it? Is that one of them increases as the other one increases, or is it the other way around? And then here, for this last one, you're going to compare the groups and say, well, it looks like this group has a higher mean than this one, but this other group has more spread according to the standard deviation. And you should be able to see all that in the box plot. All right, so now that we've finished reviewing the material that you need before you can do the project, let's talk about the project itself. So in this project, you're going to look at the GSS, the same data set we've been looking at, and you're going to pick some aspect of life that you're interested in and compare it according to some demographic variable. I've given you 7 possible demographic variables you could look at, things like political party affiliation. These are called factors. We're calling these factors in this assignment. The factor is your demographic variable that you're choosing, and the possible values of it are called levels. Okay, so you've got different levels of your factor. I have put those variables in this data set all at the very bottom. Okay, so that should be pretty easy to find because they're all at the very end. So then, once you've chosen your factor and you've identified your levels, you're going to pick 3 variables on a theme. The theme can be something like family life, health, working conditions. There are so many variables in this data set. It's easy to find 3 that relate to each other. Okay? What I don't want you to do is just pick 3 variables at random that don't fit together. Okay? The idea is for us to get some insights related to overall family life or health or working conditions or something along those lines. Of your 3 theme variables, one of them has to be numeric. Those tend to be the hardest ones to find in the GSS because there aren't as many of them. So one of them needs to be numeric. The other 2 can be whatever you want, nominal, ordinal. You can pick another numeric one if you want to, but I kind of doubt you'll want to do that. So probably you'll have 1 numeric theme variable and 2 nominal or ordinal variables. Once you've chosen your variables, you're going to do your analysis. All right, and the first thing you're going to look at is the univariate analysis for your factor. So for your demographic variable, you're going to look at the distribution. Now, your factor is going to be categorical. All of those factors are categorical. So what this means is that the distribution is going to be using a frequency table and bar chart. So I just gave you that one. You're also going to look at the relationship between your factor and the numeric theme variable you chose. And you're going to compare then across levels of your factor. So you're going to be able to say something like, Democrats have larger values of this than Republicans. If you're looking at ages, which you're not going to because ages are not very interesting, you could say Democrats tend to be older than Republicans, who tend to be older than independents. But the spread of independents is the biggest, and we can tell that from looking at the standard deviation. Something along those lines. So this is the first part of the bivariate analysis. Then you're going to do another bivariate analysis where you look at your factor and then your nominal theme variable. And you're going to do that twice probably if you have both both categorical variables here. And what I want you to do here is, we said you're going to want to do either row percentages or column percentages. I want you to structure it where you compare within levels of your factor. So, of all Democrats, this percent said this percent said this. Of all Republicans, this percent said this percent said this. So you're going to want to think about which way you structure that crosstab. Next, you're going to do a write-up. So the write-up doesn't have to be huge. It's going to probably be 1 to 2 pages, not counting your SPSS output. But you're going to talk about the GSS. So you're going to probably want to pull in that source that we talked about on the first homework, where you look a little bit at the background of the GSS. You're going to talk about the rationale for why you chose the variables, what they represent, and what they mean. And then you're going to compare across levels of the factor. I put 2 here, but some of the factors have more than 2 levels. So across levels of the factor, you're going to talk about how Democrats are different than Republicans, than independents for that first variable. And then for your other variables, you're going to talk about comparison for your groups, for levels of your factor. And then you're going to write a conclusion that just gives, a little bit of summary, draw some conclusions about your theme. So, so then you talk about, these are some of the differences between Democrats and Republicans on what their family life tends to be like. So you're going to try to pull some of that together. So you should, in your write-up, talk about all of the relevant output. Also include all of that relevant output. And I would kind of rather the output be embedded in the write-up, where you talk about the chart and then I see the chart, rather than putting them all at the end. I think that's a better way to do it. So like I said, probably 1 to 2 pages of text. But if you need longer to discuss all of your results, feel free. Don't feel you have to be limited to 2 pages. And then this is the grading scale. Most of the points are for whether you're doing the statistics correctly and whether you're talking about them correctly. And then the rest is on, how well it's written. You should be using paragraphs and, correct grammar and stuff like that. And then the 10 points is for talking about it's for this first part here, where you're talking about the GSS and then the variables you chose. I am going to ask you, once you have chosen your factor and your theme variables, I'm going to ask you, just to make sure you're on the right track, to turn in a data analysis plan on Canvas. So you're going to tell me what variables you chose and what is the level of measurement of each one of them. And then I'll approve that, and that'll help you make sure you're not heading down the wrong path with this. All right, so that's it. And I'll be around if you have any questions on the project or on any of this.